All right, chapter 3, inventory and analysis. You guys already know how to do a site plan. That's what we worked on Monday in class. That's what we worked on a little bit last week. So now, once we've got our plot plan done, we're going to move into inventory and analysis. So you've actually gotten the survey, and this is why I want you guys to bring in your surveys for your final project in next week as well. That will allow us to go ahead and start taking a look at it. You guys can start drafting that. When you finish a project a few minutes earlier than your classmates, we can always start working on that. But once we've got our drawing blown up to the scale we're going to use, we're actually going to take that to the site and we're going to do an inventory. We're going to do an analysis. And we're going to actually do one. The next project we're going to do is a rental property that my dad owns. And instead of going out there to the site, because it is rented and the people get a little freaky when there's a bunch of landscape design students walking around, I have multiple pictures that we're just going to sit there and look at. And you guys will have that survey laid on your table, and we're going to look at the pictures. I'm going to point out some good things, I'm going to point out some bad things, and then I want you guys to tell me what you see is good and what you see is bad. And then we will do our site inventory and analysis from that. All right, but the objectives is to know the process of collecting and analyzing the inventory. What is some of the inventory that we're going to collect? We're horticulturalists, so what's the first thing we're going to look at? Existing plant material. That's not going to show up on Forsyth Geodata. That ain't going to show up on the survey that the builder did. You know, all we're taking is concrete and the house and the property lines. That's pretty much what's going to be on the survey. So it's up to us to go out and kind of note where the existing maple tree that the client planted 20 years ago, where are the rose bushes, where's all of that. We're going to draw that on our site inventory. Then we're going to understand the role of analysis in the landscape design. And that's basically your opinion of what's there. You're analyzing that property. Hey, should that maple tree stay where it's at, or should it be taken down? And what's a big thing that people really don't recognize that they have sometimes? A view. And especially a view from inside the house looking out. There's trees that are blocking views of Pilot Mountain. There's all kinds of things like that that we are trained to look for that they're not necessarily paying attention to. All they see some scraggly, rough-looking trees, and they don't know that, hey, if they cut that down, they may have this wonderful view of the mountains or something. So it's important that we point that out to them. And then we're going to learn the importance of circulation, the views, and the site conditions. And circulation is something that people really don't pay attention to. You ever walk somewhere, prime example, right outside here, and I know why they've done this out here. That's for future development of our sidewalk. But is there a clear path that we can walk to Snyder Hall or Ardmore? I mean, if we stayed on the sidewalk. That's why you see so many students crossing the grass. But when they tear down these buildings and this is all green space, they're going to tie into, they've got that future master plan done that will tie in all this together. But right now it's kind of a crazy little maze of sidewalks to get there. All right, but inventory is fact and analysis is evaluation and action. And I like to think of it as your opinion. And definitely if you're doing commercial projects, this inventory and analysis will be a drawing that you're going to submit to the client. They're going to actually look at it in your presentation. Sometimes residential, you may or may not. Your inventory and analysis may just be on a sheet of trash paper that's over top your blown up site plan. Or you can run an extra copy of it and take the notes on it. For residential, it just may be a tool for you to use. But if you're getting paid good and you explain to them, I'm going to be doing site inventory and analysis, blah, 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 they may want to see that, and it's a chance to make extra money. It just depends on the client's budget and everything else. You still have to do it. It just may not be as a pretty picture as doing the colored master plan. But you can make these things look really, really cool. Items needed, that's after we've got the base plan blown up. Site survey, clipboard, tape measure, 100-foot tape, colored markers or pencils, digital camera, and a compass. You know, the bottom two we've already got on our smartphones. I'm sure there's most of you probably got an app that you can download that's got a true compass on it. They can take pictures. You can take the pictures, email them to your email address, and you got them. Store them on your computer, print them out. The thing about the digital cameras too, guys, I like taking the, you know, the little photos that's on the card, taking them down like to, since I don't have a good photo printer, but taking them down like to Walgreens and printing them out like on the 4x6 and putting them on foam core. So when I'm talking to the client or something, I've got this poster board that's got pictures. I'm like, see, ma'am, here talking about anything that's going on. Hey, if we cut down this tree, you're going to have an awesome view of Hanging Rock State Park or something. The colored markers and pencils is just something that it helps you while you're in the field there. It takes better notes and kind of clarifies things, because these things can get crammed in with a lot of information. All right, areas and situations. Inventory is recording what is present on site or observing problem areas. Analysis is taking action in response to the inventory. Nothing but that stuff there. We're going to note the utility building, specimen tree, and look at the bottom. You had the utility there. That's recording it. Putting a screen in front of the utility building is your opinion, your analysis of, hey, that's an ugly outhouse. Let's cover it up with some pretty plants. Move boulder is an example. Use this tree right here. That's a specimen tree. Use it as a focal point. That's your analysis. You know, that tree could be somewhere off to the corner. There's nothing wrong. You know, the right time of year. Explain to the client, you have such a pretty Japanese maple or weeping cherry. It needs to be near your patio, so when you guys are sitting out on the patio, you've got this nice focal point to look at. You know, tell them, let's move that tree. All that is your opinion. Plus, it's saving the client money. They're not having to buy a brand new tree. With residential landscape design, inventory and analysis is probably going to be on the same drawing. Larger commercial properties, you're going to have a site inventory drawing. Then the next drawing is going to be the site analysis, because there are just way too many things to combine them together. But the average residential design, it'll be the inventory and analysis drawing if you're showing it to the client. And this is typically, this page is in your book. I'm not sure what page it is. You know, open area. Could be a herb bed or a garden area. That's an analysis. Excellent view right here at the top. Coming from right here. That's your analysis. You know, and this is pretty much just taken in the field. Black Sharpie or our Pentel sign pens. They're taking notes and they're writing it on a copy of the survey. And like I said, guys, if we're doing the big drawing or whatever, we can take it there and we can mark all over. Or after we sent the client their questionnaire and they filled it out and we're going to meet the client, there's nothing wrong with taking a print off from Geodata or a survey if they've emailed it to you, just to the field for the first time, and you can do a rough site inventory and analysis. But if you get the job, you'd still want to go and blow up your plan and then go back and do one that's going to help you a little bit better. There's really no right or wrong way to do that. You guys will develop your own process. I'm just speaking from experience. You guys may laugh at everything I tell you when you get out in the field because you may develop something that's easier for you. A process. All right, items to note. The house, a biggie of the house is the color and the type of building materials they use, where the doors and windows are, and the rooms. You may be putting a deciduous shrub in front of a big old glass window that's actually the bathroom. And we all know it gets dark early in the winter. The wife goes in there and decides to take a shower, and that shrub's lost all its leaves, and every neighbor can see her taking a shower.
Hey, that'd be awesome. My master bedroom, I've seen it in front of my house, it's all glass.
Yeah.
The master bedroom has these things that are supposed to be like fake door window things that open up into the living room.
Yeah.
Trees, wonderful, it's great.
But not in the winter.
My neighbors across the street, their front porch is in direct, because I'm down the slope and they're up on the hill, it's in direct line to my bedroom. And you don't keep those
Things closed.
And it's ugly, they are ugly with them shut.
But
I was shower and I'm like,
you may have couples that think that's kind of cool and want that to happen.
You know, if your next door neighbor, you're out. This has got his own ideas.
It's like in the movies, you always see somebody pick up binoculars and they look at their neighbors, and then they see their neighbor looking at them with binoculars. But why's the color of the house a biggie?
I like that. It reflects off the landscape.
Plant colors.
they won't come on plants in the spring.
What'd you say, Tanner?
It reflects off the landscape. Like we were saying, plant color.
Well, yeah, we wouldn't plant red azaleas in front of red brick or something like that, yeah. All right, on the survey, you're just simply writing, hey, a bedroom's in the far left. That's the, well, that'd be the patio. So the rear right's a bedroom, the front right's a bedroom. You're just kind of making those notes on your survey where these rooms are. And you'll kind of pick out like where some of those views are. You know, the dining room there, it may want a focal point there in the back. That's why we want to know that. They've probably got their dining room table. They've got those big windows there. They want to look out and see something nice. And that's just a simple 1-minute job at the house. You can pretty much walk around the house and kind of tell what rooms are. Or when you go inside, ask them, say, ma'am, where's, is it a bedroom in the back? You can show them a copy of the survey and they can kind of tell you if they don't want you walking around the house. But then we got to take notes on the circulation, parking, primary paths, secondary paths, and pavement. What would be primary paths? A sidewalk, yeah. Secondary, what would that be? Be out back. It may be some stepping stones that would take you from the front to the back patio. Like I said, you're not using it every day, but a sidewalk, you're going to go out to your car every morning, get in it and go, or kids walk out the front door to go catch the bus. Parking, that's a big one. I've been on some mighty thin, skinny driveways that when you open the door, you're stepping off in the grass or mulch. It ain't cool on a rainy day. And what was in the last book that we used, we always talk about, are there parents that are going to be moving in with you? Are there kids that are 16, 17 years old about to get their driver's license? Is there going to be a lot more parking going on there? Do you want the guests to park in the driveway, or do you want them to park on the street? You got to take those things into consideration. And if they've got a nice concrete driveway, there's nothing wrong with doing like a brick paver parking, just a little offset that the mom can pull in and let the dad, park side by side her at night when he comes home from work. I mean, little things like that you can do all the time. All right, here's how we're going to note. Simply, we're going to take big arrows, blocks. That's how we're going to delineate our paths. Primary is going to be the thick blocks. And then the secondary is like our, would be like our gravel path or pea gravel path or a stepping stone. And looking at what we're looking at here, this is probably a brand new house. The builders hired you or the clients come to you and said, the house is almost done. It's time to start thinking about landscaping. You're doing things like this right here. Because when you get there and you walk up to the house that's under construction and you can tell that that's the driveway or they've already got that poured, you'll know, yeah, we need the sidewalk here. And based on your feel and your expertise, we need sidewalk from the street to get guests into the front door. There's those things you get accustomed to, and you've got that feel. It's like going into a parking lot. You ever driving your car in a parking lot and you're just like, what was this guy thinking designing this parking lot? I mean, I can't even get one aisle over without making a weird angled turn and stuff. Now all these plans are getting a little stricter. They're submitting them to the city and they've got to approve it and all that. There's a minimum radius and stuff. Some of these older shopping centers are a pain to get in and out of. We got to note the utilities. Where are they putting the trash can? Where's the septic tank? If there's water, city sewer and water, where's the connection at? We don't want to plant a maple tree back here if there's a septic field, do we?
No.
We do want to cover up the trash cans, especially from the front, so the neighbors don't see it. You might want to plant the calycanthus right there to take care of some of the smell. There's overhead wires going to the house. We don't want to plant nothing underneath that. So we're going to note all of our utilities. And these big ugly green box transformers. And now with irrigation, they've allowed the backflow to go back underground. So if you're doing an irrigation thing, you don't have to try to hide that above ground backflow box. People's got these nice, beautiful yards, nice landscape, and you've got this ugly green box that's about this wide, sticking this tall up. Almost looks like all I got to do is put letters on the sides, and it looked like a commercial sign. I always thought that was crazy. But the backflow had to be so many feet close to the street and all that.
They have those beautiful plastic rocks.
Yeah. And the people can use those now. Yeah, it used to, the city of Winston, you actually had to have the green box that was bolted to a concrete pad, and you had to have electrical box current to plug up the heat tape. I mean, it was a pain to do all that. And people are like, that ugly thing's got to be in my yard? Yep.
And heavy green.
Oh, they got tan, I think, too. You had like 2 colors. That's just the way. I guess you could paint it yourself. Then your neighbors would probably complain, they've painted pink. Or they've got Carolina blue. I'd get mad if it was Carolina blue too, right? All right, but yeah, the septic tank, the trees, they're going to go right for that water. So we need to find out where that's at. You can always tell where that's at if it's an existing house, because that's where the grass is going to be green. It's weird. And then sometimes you can actually see the fingers, the pipes growing out. There's just green grass strips all along where the field lines are. Overhead lines, don't do like some of our municipalities and plant them directly underneath it. I wish we could bury all of our overhead lines. Air conditioning units, trash can storage areas, other utilities, and dog lots. You actually need to probably have that in a hidden area. You want to hide the dog from people, and you want to hide the dog from the cars going by. You don't want him seeing everything that's going on. He's going to start barking and having a good old time. I live in the country, and my dogs run free.
Is that a song?
No. It'd make a good one, wouldn't it? But we can go outside and whistle and holler, and she'll be there in 2 minutes. All right, views, good, poor, from the inside of the home, and potential. Notice how we're in, and these pictures are in the book, guys, and I'll put this on TechTube later. But you've got to, this is how you're going to delineate potential view. You're going to just draw a single arrow, and you're going to put a little asterisk. Good view is going to be like your circulation. It's going to be the thicker, wider arrows, and then your poor views are going to have that little zigzag in the little single line. And there's quick, simple, easy ways to do this with markers. Oh my gosh, it makes it just so cool. And I'll show you that quick and simple, easy way. These fat magic markers that we got, the chart packs, you know, you can take them and just draw little rectangles, then outline it with your Sharpies. Perfect. All right, any questions on the views and how we're going to draw it? And that can be done with Sharpies, but the easiest way, that's what I'm saying, have those magic markers available. And you can even delineate each one of these arrows as a different color. Me, I'm all about color, that splash. Makes you feel like you've done something for the day. All this black and white, it just gets you in a depressed mood. When you can color, you feel like a kid again.
See, we never got to experience that back in the old days like you did.
Really? Well, the guy that's going to be teaching computer apps, he come in the other day and he saw this and he's like, wow, you guys are still using magic markers. He's like, that's cool. He said, I do it. He said, I just cannot stand using computer graphics to render my drawings. He said, I'll do it in CAD, print it out, and he said, I get the magic markers out. And he said, it's just fun. And he says, it looks 10 times better. It's get me teary-eyed. Huh? Jerry Weicker. If everything goes planned. School's got to say yes, but it will. He's a great guy, great guy. You guys are learning a lot from him. Like I said, Tanner, I feel so good that I've taken you from this level to about right here, even though everybody else is way up here. That biggest improvement. I mean, you know, you can tell Todd, Dad, Eric's taught me a lot. He needs that super discount. Other things that we're going to note is exposure, the sunlight, the temperature, your north, south, east, west of the house. You know, there's certain plants that don't need to grow on the north side. There's certain plants that don't need to grow on the south side. Where is the best place to put an outdoor room? North, south, east, or west? You probably hadn't read it in your book yet, but take a wild guess. We do want, everybody does like sunshine.
North.
But where is the most optimum place to have like an outdoor room or a patio? And think about it. Just think about it. Think about how the sun rises and how it sets. And think about when you're going to be outside most of the time. You're going to be outside in the summer, spring, and fall. but more so in the summer with all the holidays. Huh?
It's closed on the south, and if it's an open patio on the north.
Eastern side of the house is the best place for patios and outdoor activities because you have nice morning sun. As the sun comes up, you're going to start being able to get more shade, and you're out of that heat as the sun goes down. And the book will talk about that. Chapter 3 will talk about that. That is a test question. I remember that. Where's the best place to have outdoor patios, outdoor rooms?
All 4 ways.
Huh?
All 4 ways.
All 4 ways.
Right, well,
If there's, if you're selling them 3-inch caliber trees, surrounding the house, yeah, you could. That way they'd have that shade and sun. But look what it says right here on the east side of the house. Morning sun, comfortable afternoon. North, cool, moist, and shady. West, afternoon sun, it's hot and dry. Do you want to be setting? You guys leave for Scythe Tech equipment class in the summers. You're going to go home and you're going to sit on your patio and drink a Pepsi. Do you want to be out in that heat? You want to be out in that direct sunlight after leaving my lab where you've been out running a plugger for 3 hours? You want to be sitting in the shade, right? So think about being on the east side. The south is hot, dry, and sunny. You're going to get sun most of the day. And we can't help how the builder built the house, right? I mean, there's going to be situations that you just cannot have the patio on the eastern side of the house. You have to put it in the back. And then that's when you accommodate with extra plants, shade, trellis for shade, and things like that. But if you live in the country where the dogs run free and you got some open space, you want it on the eastern side. George Straitscapes. Straitscapes. That's country. All right. I'm talking about the northern hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, sunlight enters the atmosphere from the south. And y'all know this from, was it 6th grade geography? I can't remember. Another test question here, guys. In the winter, we have longer shadows. In the summer, we have shorter shadows. Why is that? If you were to go out on June 20th, stand in the sun at 12 o'clock, well, even, we'll say 10 o'clock in the morning, you're going to have a short shadow. If you go out and do it December 20th at the same time, you're going to have a long shadow. Why is that? What causes shadows? Sunlight being blocked and creates that pattern on the ground. Well, the sun in the summer is higher in the sky. In the wintertime, it's lower in the sky. So being lower in the sky, it's going to give that longer cast. Say the sun's like right here. It's coming down, it's shining on me. I'm going to have this little bitty shadow behind me. But if it's out in front of me, it's going to cast that shadow long. And think about it driving home. In the summertime, you can drive all day and the sun don't bother you. But even right now, going home at 4:30, 5 o'clock, that sun's like always in your face. If you're driving towards, the sun setting, it's directly like in your face at that time. In the summertime, it's higher in the sky. It's not much of a glare going on you as you drive. But winter has longer shadows, summer has shorter. That is a test question. So don't miss it. All right, northern exposure, southern exposure again. On the north side, it's going to be shady and damp. You're going to get some moss possibly on the trees. you may be wanting to create that effect. Who knows? Yeah, we just got to take those things into considerations. But which type of exposure do we want to have a patio? Wake up.
Southern exposure.
Oh my gosh. Eastern. Southern exposure. Since sunlight enters from the south side of objects or areas warms quicker because the sunlight is more intense. This is why snow melts first on the south side of a hill. Now y'all learned something today, right? Which exposure should we take advantage of, and which exposure should we screen? Tell me. This is big in like green building, and landscape architects and designers are a part of this green building. People want to save money.
North for number 2.
No, north is usually typically shady, cool, and moist. Well, the exposure we should take advantage of, Eastern. Which one should we screen?
Western.
More than likely Western, sometimes South, possibly. Well, what's happening right here?
Got a tree blocking the sun.
All right, blocking that southern exposure on that house. Is that helping keep that house cool?
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't have the sun hitting the attic. It's just
And how is this picture going to affect that house in the winter?
the leaves.
The leaves fall off on the tree, the sunlight goes through the tree. It's going to actually help warm that house. I mean, seriously, at my house, we've got all the oak trees, the Quercus alba. Got 3 big ones that form this huge canopy over the house. We do a lot of raking acorns and blowing leaves, but we can go well into the summer before we really have to crank up the AC. You know, windows open, screens on, got that shade. We lose those leaves in the wintertime, and the sunlight's still coming in. The bad thing about my house, it's white vinyl siding, so it's reflecting a lot of that sunlight. If it was a brick home, brick's going to absorb the sunlight, and that brick's going to heat up, and it helps you to have lower heat bills. And there it's just coming through. And the combination of what we'd want to screen that southwestern exposure. And there's just a picture of the shadows. And how is this going to affect us on our plant materials with the shadows? You know, the winter we have longer shadows, and the summer we have shorter shadows. How would that affect us on plant material? Some plants need full sun. Some plants need shade. So if we plant, a flowering shrub that needs sunlight most of the time, and we plant it there at the house based on the exposure, that plant may be in full shade all day. And then they're calling you, the client's calling you complaining, well, why isn't my shrub blooming, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's because you planted it where it's going to receive shade all the time. But if you'd have planted it on just the opposite side of the house, they'd still have their shrub and it blooms just magnificently. So when you guys make these mistakes out here, do not tell them you're a graduate of this program. But when you get praised, say, it was all because of Eric and Lisa there for Scythe Tech. Well, we've already answered this. I've been jumping the gun. When are longer shadows, summer or winter? Why is this important? No. When's the longer shadows?
Winter.
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 And what else is good about shadows? What can they help you do?
Hang out, chill.
Huh? They keep you cool, but aesthetically, can they help you? You ever walk through like a courtyard? You got this nice brick paver courtyard, and take for instance the crepe myrtle, or something like a Jap maple, or a river birch that has these beautiful shadow patterns. You're walking through the courtyard in winter when there's no leaves, so you've got these shadow patterns, and look at the picture. I mean, seeing those shadow patterns on the ground is aesthetically pleasing. It creates winter interest in the garden. I mean, that plays a big role. That can change people's moods. Something as simple as that. They're having a gloomy, rainy day in their mind, but they see these cool, textured shadows on the ground, and it's like, hey, man, it's a gorgeous day to be outside. Businesses would want something like that. But that's cool with how we can actually use our plant material to create winter shadow effects. We need to note the prevailing winds and how we're going to block those winds. Something as that simple screen right there from the northwest on this house, that could be Leland Cypress and L.E. Stevens blocking that wind. It's automatically going to lower that guy's heating costs, keeping those winds. Houses built, older houses, guys back in the day, they were built to breathe. Houses today now, the new thing is to have them 100% sealed up. So if you're my house, it's built to breathe. That's just the way it is. Our heat bill is outrageous. I would hate to think if I had evergreens planted around it or something that didn't allow the sunlight to come through. But that's just the way construction's changed. My house was built in 1923. These prevailing winds, we can insulate that effect. We can block the wind, and it's going to lower the wind chill effect. Having those shrubs around it. Wind chill always lowers the temperature, and it's going to conserve energy. And that's what people want to hear these days. Green building. A lot of landscape architects now are getting LEED certified. That's like the green standard for design professionals. That you know how to use plant materials. You know how to use construction materials in your designs that's going to save people energy. That's saving energy, saving money. One of my colleagues here, he's an architect. He designed his house all with windows. He created he's got round stairs in his house. And he went up there and he's got vents and windows that he can open up. And he creates a natural draft in the spring and summer. And then he's got all this glass that absorbs that sunlight and warms the house in the winter. He's very low heating bills just because he knew how to design the house that way. Builders now and homeowners, they're looking at all these plans and they're building a house based on, wow, that's a pretty house. They're not thinking like that. But we can help them, especially with the outside stuff. All right, during the summer, allow the prevailing wind from the southwest to cool the summer heat. So we have the tree blocking the sunlight. tall tree here is still allowing that breeze to help cool it. So we wouldn't want something like a Leland cypress there. We're going to note existing plants. You know, there's a red cedar in the back, 25 feet canopy. It's 30 feet tall, provides a good screen. That's what you're writing down when you're there. Red maple, right here. 20 feet wide, 30 feet tall, has good value. That's your analysis. Right there in the middle, forsythia, scrubby. It's considered replacing it. You know, that's your analysis. We're going to get rid of that forsythia. So, in that whole step right there, you've taken inventory and you've taken analysis. With existing plants, there's something else. Besides your existing plants, who else should you notice? Your neighbors. Your neighbor may have the state champion of a certain type tree that you want to view from the inside, or you want to go out on your patio and be able to see it. You know, so don't plant something in front of that that's going to screen it. And that's something that you may need to discuss with your client. They might not realize that that's a state champion tree or a good view. That they may just hate the neighbor so bad that they want to plant Leland cypress all around their house and not have to deal with them. But you got to explain to them, sir, if I was you, I'd want to look at that ginkgo tree. Wait till you see that golden fall color. You may want to consider leaving that open. You know, and you got to explain that to them. Sometimes it may be just getting even with them by not screening the neighbor's house. Thanks for letting me look at that pretty tree. I was going to buy one, but since you've got it, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy it. But with our existing plants, we're going to note the condition, size, location, if we're going to remove it or include it. And X marks the spot for removal. Circle marks the existing that you're going to pretty much keep. So if there's a big oak tree out there, we may just note with an X that we're going to take down that oak. It's got dead top, you know, limbs are falling out. It's just a poorly tree. X would just mark it where the trunk is. You wouldn't necessarily have to draw the canopy. And then the little circle that you've got a wonderful, wonderful maple tree that you're keeping, you just draw that little circle where the trunk is. And we're almost finished. We'll take a quick break before we start drawing. Soil, we're going to note the soil. And what's the easiest thing to do when you go and meet the client? Because we're going to know right off the bat if the client's serious about paying you for to design it, right? So what should we take with us when we go to that interview?
Invoice.
Yeah, I mean,
Here you go.
hey, here's an invoice for this down payment on my landscape design. Take a soil sample kit. Just take it with you. Take that box, you know, get you one of those soil probes that you can actually have. I mean, it's quick, simple. It's not going to cost you any money. You know, it's just a little bit of time. You've already got that knocked out.
Take it to Green Resource.
And do y'all do the soil testing there on site, or do y'all send?
We send it off by UPS.
Not to the state. You send it off to a different lab, don't you? So y'all, what's the turnaround?
Say what?
What's the turnaround time? Like if I brought you a soil sample today, when could they get my results?
3, 4, 5 weeks. We had a guy bring in one 3 weeks ago, and we got his back a week later. But,
Now you know, John Deere Landscapes guaranteed it within like 3 days.
Well, he may do it sooner. I just noticed when
What's the cost?
they didn't.
Y'all don't cost? Well, that's why we've had to pay in the past. But sometimes it pays, you know, it was like $8, something like that. But it was worth it to get those results back pretty quick.
So, like, one guy brought his soil sample in, and we had it tested, and his pH level was neutral.
Yeah.
And we just asked him if he had used any lime, and he said no, so we kind of told him, so that's really good soil, and that's
Well,
what
and
we wanted to know.
that's a good service for your dad to provide because he can sell that product based on that
That's what I
result.
said, then we get them when they come back,
Yeah.
say, well, did you use
We've already got it on a pallet for you, sir.
it? Right.
We'll just load it right up. But here's the thing: if you're sending it off to the state, I know how long did it take in soil science class to get it back? About a month. Well, if for some reason you don't get the job and they mail that soil test back to you, send it to the client. That's just being a good peacekeeper. They might think, wow, well that guy, he went to all that trouble to do the soil test and he sent us the results and we didn't hire him. They may have not hired you because the spouse just lost the job or something like that. Doing something that nice, they think it's super nice that you did it. They're going to recommend you to somebody else even though they didn't use you. Well, once you call this guy, call this lady, I got my free soil sample. I hate that I couldn't hire them at the time, but they're nice people. Little things like that go a long ways. And what's worse is the bad news travels faster. So you got to do all the little nice things, especially if it's not costing you money. Just send it to them. The soil, hey, the ribbon test, we've all had soil science. We can do that in the field. Do that before you shake the client's hand. You can do the jar testing, letting it filter out, doing that test. We're not gonna take 3 mason jars out to the site, but take your. Are you burying those mason jars in my yard? They see you out there digging a hole in a mason jar. And we know this pretty picture here, so we're not going to get into the percent clay, percent silt. Reason we need to know soil science: hey, is it compacted? Does it have good structure? Is it 50% soil, 25% air, water? All those play a role in how we're going to grow our plants. And we're not going to want to put a driveway on a mushy soil where you have wet spots and stuff. Uh, 6.5 is a good pH ideal. But all this should be familiar to you guys. I should have excluded it from this PowerPoint.
It wouldn't make sense.
Huh?
It wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't make sense then. I just love soil science. I'm gonna make it fun next semester. Y'all are gonna regret not taking it with me. It's just gonna be wonderful. Landform. Good thing to note. What's good? What's good and bad about both picks? Well, you can't see that lower pick. Dad burn it. I apologize. It's in the book. We'll take a look at it. The top picture. Water's running away from the house. It's going down into a little trench. It's going to be carried off. Well, the lower picture on page 91, as Linda pointed out, rain's falling. You've got that berm in the house. It's making the water run back towards the house.
Basement.
Flooded basement. Which could be a sideline business for your landscape company. We waterproof basements.
Just dig a ditch.
I got a good friend that's a roofer. He loves rainstorms. Why? People find out they got leaky roofs. He stays busy. He's a leaky roof. They got a leaky roof. Leaky roof.
Is that on your, did you record that?
Yeah.
I wasn't like that.
Tanner, I'm going to go home and pull this up on the TV, YouTube. Be like, sweetie, you're going to sit and watch this lecture. it'll probably turn her on. You know, she'll be like, wow, my husband does that. He talks about landscaping. It's better than taking her out to eat or something. Popcorn and listening to my lectures. But we can slope the land like this. We can do it with vegetation. What's some good plants for that? Ground cover. What kind of ground covers? Junipers. Probably the #1 ground cover in commercial landscapes. Blue Pacifica, blue rug. Or we can terrace it off like that. Just don't have a basketball court on top. I hated that. Me and my brother played basketball growing up. You know, Dad finally poured a pad that goes into the garage, and he put us up a goal. But the driveway's like this going up to their house, and every time we'd make a bad shot, you know, we'd be running down the road trying to get the ball. Drainage, landform. You can create a swell to take the water away, as in the top picture, or you can pretty much slope it all the way away from it. Sometimes you got to be careful, and you can't slope it too much, and all that water runs on your neighbors. There's been lawsuits about all that crap. It's crazy. That's why I don't like postage stamp lots. I like being in the country where the dogs run free. All right, this is topography. And the surveys that you get off of Geodata and the ones that you're going to get from the surveyor, 9 times out of 10 aren't going to have the topo on it, because that takes some time for the surveyor to do that. He can go out, a surveyor can come out in probably 2 or 3 hours on a small lot, mark the driveway, give the corners of the house, they'll give the footprint of the house, and mark all the property lines. I've hired one time in my life. I was hired to do a design for a lady in Buena Vista, and they didn't have a site survey. The thing is, they had such a big backyard, and they wanted a bunch of walls and stuff built, so hired a surveyor. It was about $350, but they paid for it directly. I just like, look, here's a surveyor. You need to call him. I need a survey. If not, it's going to take me a lot longer. He can come out and do it cheaper than you can pay me to come out, measure, go back, draw, come back, measure, and all that, because it was just such a difficult project. And they had it, boom, I had a nice, clean, crisp 11 by 17, 8.5, the legal size sheet of paper he'd give to him. I called him up. I said, look, man, I know you've done this in CAD. Yeah? Can I get a copy of that? Sure. What's your email address? Poof. It was sent right to me. Pro Landscape imported it immediately. Or AutoCAD, opened it immediately. So look how much time and money that saved the client. You know, they hear surveyor and they start freaking out thinking it's going to be an arm and leg. No, it was cheaper for her to do that. And it was cheaper. She had to pay him a little something, but it would have cost a lot more for me to do it. Plus, it saved me time, and I was able to work on other stuff while that was going on. All about using other professionals and subbing things out. Get the job done quicker and get paid quicker. Here we just have a topographic map. You know, it's got the drainage on it. We're not going to get into that, but if you ever see a plan that's got that on it, those are underground pipes taking, you know, stormwater collection points and moving that water off site. That is a big thing in commercial design, making sure that you can get all your stormwater off. You got the roof, that's a problem, and then you got all the parking lot. Areas snowed around the house, existing wet locations, wet areas, the foundation, surface drainage, and the gutters, where the gutters are located and whether or not they have gutters, or if the gutters look to be insufficient. You can pretty much tell. Are they connected? You know, or is it half hanging off and stuff like that? Another thing, you look and see if the gutters are piped off. And if they are piped off, are they working? You know, because those corrugated pipes that they run these gutters and downspouts off with sometimes can get, you know, trash, leaves, and get clogged up. And then you've got the water running out of the gutters. we take a trash can that we take our garbage out of the kitchen and we set it there on the back patio. And my wife, she pushed it underneath the eave of the house. And it was empty because she took it down. We keep a big trailer there on the farm that me, my brother, and Dad all share for our garbage. And we take it off about every 6 months. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper. It only costs like $35 to dump that trailer, and everybody chips in $10. But she pushed the trash can underneath the eave of the house. There was like a little bitty hole in the corner where the gutters met. When we come out yesterday morning, and that trash can was full. So that helped us see that we need to fix that hole. So the next time I see that little black spray paint on the infomercial where you can buy it and it's like rubber in a can, I need some of that. That would seal that off, because all that water had been just going down and seeping underneath the house. But didn't know that. So you get a client, always take a big trash can with you for the site inventory and analysis. Make sure that, like I said, where are the downspouts going? Where are they emptying to? Mr. Jones, I really don't like our neighbors. Well, sir, we can screen for that, and I'm going to pipe off your downspout so all of your wastewater goes to their house. Screening there on the right, just squiggly lines up and down. If you did that with like a green marker or a green pencil, it helps stand it out. Another way to do the screen there at the bottom, and your good views, panoramic views, and a focal point. But very, very good ways to help you on your site inventory and analysis. Tanner, put down the iPhone 5 and pay attention to this great lecture that I've worked so hard and diligently to prepare. All right, and there's what a completed site inventory and analysis should look like. I think this is in the appendix of your books. I had scanned it in a couple of years ago to build this PowerPoint. But use Sharpies, colored markers, colored pencils. It is freehand, so you're not going to take your T-square and triangles and set it up on the back of the tailgate. You're going to do this in the field. And it's minimal words. We're using symbols. We're using symbols to help with us. But that is the Grant residence. It's in the back of the book, and you guys can take a look at that. The Pentel sign pens are good. They come in every color. You can Google them. I know they only sell black in the bookstore. The end. Wow, am I the only one that's clapping?